Coffee Talk. I am your host, MISHUMA SABA, M.SABA, and this is our Cultural Variety Podcast. Stay tuned. Peace. And welcome to the sports show, the Coffee Talk Variety Podcast Show. And I am your host, MISHUMA SABA. This is our sports night, our Wednesday edition, and we're happy to be here. Again, thank you. And welcome to tuning in to Coffee Talk Podcast, your Cultural Variety Podcast Show. And again, I am your host, MISHUMA SABA, M.SABA. This is our Cultural Variety Podcast. All right, check it. How y'all doing today? Good. Today, being that we're getting ready to go into the final 8, because this weekend is the Sweet 16. So the final 8 of the NCAA tournament is going on. Who y'all got? I know a lot of people's brackets got knocked off in the first 2 weeks, as usual. But yeah, they're in the final 16. Excuse me as I clean my glasses. They're in the final 16. I haven't watched much, but if I had to pick a team right now, I want to go with Michigan. And why? I just want to see Juwan Howard succeed. You know what I'm saying? Especially after the criticism that took place about, 2 weeks ago. So I really just want him to succeed. Even though I was one of the persons that felt like what he did was wrong. But, sometimes you can forgive people and get over things. And so that's really what's going to be our flavor for the night as far as the wise words. So if this is your first time tuning in to Coffee Talk Podcast, let me just let you know how it starts. We are a cultural variety podcast show. So we appear 3 days a week. And during those 3 days, which is Monday, Wednesday, and an alternate Friday and Saturday, we give you something a little different. So on Mondays, we do our cultural studies. So we give big shouts out to our ancestors, our scholars, our scientists, our lawyers, our doctors, our people. So we discuss that on Mondays. We give you poems. We will read a book chapter or a story. So that's what we do on Cultural Studies Night on Monday nights. On Wednesday nights, such as tonight, this is our Cultural Variety Podcast Show, and this is our sports edition. So our sports edition is not like your typical sports show. We're not going to get to talking about who scored last night the most points, the last basket, or the winning goal, or kicked the field goal, or whatever. We really don't even concern ourselves with that. What we really like to do is talk about the historical aspects of our athletes and what they have to go through and endure in the world of sports. So we definitely give you that flavor on Wednesday nights. And then, of course, again, on Friday and Saturday nights, it's our grown folks night. We like to let our hair down, kick our feet up, enjoy some wine, water, cappuccino, whatever it is that keeps you comfortable. And we like to just have fun. We like to do 10-question Q&A. We like to have guests, and we like to just crack jokes and have fun. So that is Coffee Talk in its essence. And again, I do appreciate you for tuning in tonight. So listen, if this is your first time tuning into the show, we never start a show without giving it some flavor. All right. So tonight's flavor, we're going to start with the wise words first. The wise words is this. If you are mad right now, wherever you are, if you're mad, take a deep breath, relax. You may even want to reflect on it a little bit. And then after that, man, let's just let it go. You understand what I'm saying? The key word is let it go. Let it roll off your shoulders and keep it moving. Because the more distraction that you allow is going to keep you in that situation. It's going to keep you stagnated. You know what I'm saying? So if you want to keep pushing yourself, continue to do that. Don't carry that anger with you. Relax, reflect if you have to, let it go. Keep pushing, because you are the sole controller of your destiny, and you don't want nothing blocking what you have in store for yourself. So those are the wise words here at Coffee Talk Podcast. And in tonight's flavor, we're going to go right back to what it is. It's mahogany. mahogany dark roast. Why? Because it's smooth, but it wants to give you that, you know what I'm saying, to get you back energized, you know, to get you back healing. So that's what our flavor is tonight. Tonight is mahogany. All right, so listen, y'all remember the ABA? Probably not. You know, a lot of our viewers are in between the ages of 25 and 55. But if you heard of the ABA, you know, it was a basketball league that was before the NBA. They had a lot of go-getters, as we will talk about shortly here. And that's what we're definitely going to talk about, is the merger of the ABA versus the NBA. What did the ABA have? It had the red, white basketball, red, white, and blue ball. And then you had the NBA, which was a more popular basketball league, you know, that was just starting up. So I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and jump right on in to the NBA and ABA merger, shall we? Let's go. The merger of the American Basketball Association, the ABA, with the National Basketball Association, the NBA, after multiple attempts over several years, occurred in 1976. The NBA-ABA had entered a merger where talks as early as 1970, but antitrust suit filed by the head of the NBA Players Union, Robertson versus National Basketball Association, was blocked. And they blocked that merger back in 1976. So they actually tried to merge back then several times, but it always would get blocked. As part of the merger's agreement, the NBA agreed to accept 4 of the remaining 6 ABA teams. Those 4 NBA teams were the Denver Nuggets, the Indiana Pacers, the New York Nets, and the San Antonio Spurs. The remaining 2 ABA teams, the Kentucky Colonels and the Spirits of St. Louis, folded, with their players entering what they call a dispersal draft. On August 5th, 1976, the National Basketball Association merged with its rival. And then I do apologize here for this error here. But when they merged, again, they also took on the Denver Nuggets, the Indiana Pacers, and then New York Nets as well. But now they're now known as Brooklyn, and then the San Antonio Spurs. So they did add the Denver Nuggets and the Indiana Pacers as well. But however, the ABA was founded in 1967 to fill the basketball void in areas that were served in a 10-city area that didn't have NBA teams. The ABA selected former NBA star George Mikan out of Minneapolis for the Minneapolis Lakers as its first commissioner. He helped institute a more entertaining, high-scoring brand of basketball that was seen in the NBA, as well as eye-catching red, white, and blue basketballs, the three-point shot, and an emphasis on marketing players with colorful nicknames like Dr. J. Julius Erving and George the Iceman Gervin. Despite these popular innovations, the ABA was plagued by a series of bad business decisions. Among them, a failure to copyright the red and white and blue ball. Ain't that crazy, y'all? So they couldn't get the basketball that they were using, as you can see in the upper right corner here, that the red and white ABA ball. They couldn't get that ball. It was being blocked because of a failure of copyright. However, the ball used to sell like crazy in the 70s. You know, it was definitely like one of the top basketballs in every community, especially in our communities all over the country. The league also struggled, though. The league struggled to reach a mass audience, as only one of its cities was a top 20 American market. As of a whole, the population in the ABA cities was less than half that of the NBA cities. And although the underdog league was popular with the fans that it did reach, in the end, it just could not make enough money to survive on its own. And so that was why the ABA ended up folding to the NBA. 7 ABA owners agreed to a merger that was set on August 5th, 1976, with the NBA. It was announced to the public on June 17th. The plans were made to dismantle 3 of the 7 ABA franchises and incorporate those players into the NBA. According to the terms of the deal, the three teams not absorbed into the NBA would be paid a separately negotiated lump sum. One of the three teams was the Virginia Squares. They went bankrupt before the merger, though, so they never did get paid. But the other two were rewarded with substantial payouts. The owner of the Kentucky Colonels, John White Brown Jr., he received a payment of $3.3 million, while the Salina brothers, owners of the Spirits of St. Louis, they negotiated what many believe to be the best deal in sports history. They received $2.2 million and 1/7 of a share of each of the four remaining ABA teams and their television rights that got absorbed into the NBA. So that was definitely a power move. Earl Foreman, who owned the Virginia Squares, the team that Dr. J played for, was being lambasted by fans and the press for selling four of their best players to the ABA. Those four players that was Julius Erving, Dr. J, Charlie Scott, Soren Netter, and George Gervin. The economic strategy behind the capital investment in ABA franchises was that the best teams in the league would ultimately be absorbed by expansion into the NBA and thus become invaluable financial assets. Unfortunately, when the ABA folded, the Virginia Squares did not make that transition. The main obstacle had been Foreman's concept to make the Virginia Squares a regional Virginia team that although headquartered in Norfolk would play additional home games at Hampton Coliseum and the sports arenas in Richmond and Renault. These four cities, however, were economic rivals rather than cooperative friends, and the political plotness could not be overcome. Affluent businesses in these cities thus did not buy blocks of season tickets, and individuals did not relate to the Virginia Squares as their city's home team. The Squares ended up phasing out in 1976 when they played their last professional basketball game. So that's how the ABA and the NBA merger came about. Now, I do know this. The NBA wanted George Gervin and Dr. J because of their ability. They were great players. They're also two of the top 75 players to ever play the game. And they also are Hall of Famers. You can read more on Dr. J and Iceman George Gervin, or you can go to YouTube to see more further film on those players. It was stated that when the Virginia Squares were folding, and it was because of bankruptcy, the owner didn't have enough money to pay Dr. J. See, Dr. J was like the Michael Jordan of the ABA league. He would then become the Michael Jordan. And let's just not disrespect Dr. J like that, but he was big as Jordan, you know what I'm saying, in those times. But Jordan is his own player and Dr. J is his own. So for any family or friends of those guys that's watching our show tonight, I don't want to say he tried to be Michael Jordan, because Dr. J actually laid his own path. I mean, again, he was big as Jordan. Y'all know that. All right, but the Virginia Squares owner could not pay $3 million to Dr. J, you know. And so eventually the New York Knicks had an opportunity to come on in there and get Dr. J. Can you believe that? Dr. J with the New York Knicks. With the New York Knicks. I'm sorry. But they never went ahead and took that chance on Dr. J. So the New York Nets came in, they paid their money to the NBA. That money went to the Virginia Squares for the purchases, and the owner, and gave the other owner another $3 million. So they paid $6 million total to get Dr. J, you know, and the rest is history. So yeah, what's y'all's thoughts on the ABA and the NBA merger? You know, there's a picture out there of Dr. J, man, and it's a very vintage picture, but he's cocking the ball back so far, man, and he's like looking right at the rim, but his elbow's way over, damn near over up by the backboard. You know what I'm saying? It's a tremendous vintage picture. I wish I had it for you tonight to show you, but I don't got it right now. I could have looked it up, but maybe that'll be some homework for y'all. Go ahead and try to find that vintage Dr. J when he's dunking. I believe it's in the Rucker Park, and look how high he is. You know, the young Julius Dr. J. But other than that, man, when did you start playing basketball? Go ahead and leave comments. What got you into the sport? What do you like about the NBA today? You know, there's no hand check rule. You know, there's more teams scoring at a higher pace than back in the 80s and 90s, which was more defensive. What do you think about the ownership? There's only one black owner in the NBA, and that's Michael Jordan, a majority owner of an NBA franchise. But other than that, I would love to hear from you. Go ahead and leave your comments about the show, about your thoughts on the ABA, what you can remember, what you was told by your grandparents or your father. Let me know what your thoughts is on the current NBA state versus the 80s and 90s. Let me know who your thoughts are. Who is the GOAT of the NBA? It doesn't even matter because there's a GOAT in every era, if you ask me. But what's your thoughts on that? Go ahead and let me know. This is our show for tonight. This is our sports edition. And I do want to say this to my supporters and our viewers. I do apologize at the beginning of the show as I stumbled over a few words here in our script. But, you know, we're not always going to have a clean show. But I do appreciate y'all continuing to support our franchise here. So thank you for being supporters of Coffee Talk Podcast. We're going to see you this weekend, which is going to be Saturday night. We're going to have a great show for you. It's going to be men's night, and we're going to just have a good time, man. Continue to support this show. This show is not just for me. This show is definitely for you. You know what I'm saying? The Coffee Talk Podcast, the cultural variety podcast show. And again, I'm your host, MISHUMA, SABA, M.SABA. I just want to thank you. Peace. I'm going to throw up the universal peace sign. We are out of here. And until next time, thank you for tuning in to Coffee Talk Podcast. Peace.